This Sunday on Capital Connection, the downstate divide, how the coronavirus largely spared downstate while it engulfed Chicago.
He's taken too long, Mark, to come around to what's the reality, what's on the ground.
And what that means for Governor Pritzker's plan to reopen the state.
We certainly do not want to move backward. I think you've seen in the other states, they moved very quickly, and now they see a spike, and now they have to move backward. And you can imagine how damaging that is to small businesses.
It's all coming up on Capital Connection.
From the Illinois State Capitol Rotunda, Capitol Bureau Chief Mark Maxwell is asking the tough questions. This is Capital Connection.
Welcome to Capital Connection. I'm Mark Maxwell reporting from the Illinois State House on this Sunday, June 21st. This Friday is a milestone in the state's fight against the coronavirus. On Friday, all 4 regions of Illinois are poised to enter Phase 4 of Governor Pritzker's plan to restore Illinois, returning from the age of lockdowns and economic restrictions that have been in place for the better part of 2020 so far. But that will be the last stage before Phase 5, the complete lifting of all restrictions. That only arrives when we find a treatment, a vaccine, or otherwise have herd immunity after enough people eventually get sick and the virus stops slowing as rapidly as it has. All of that raises several questions as we look back now on how we got here. Remember, back at the start, when Governor Pritzker instituted his statewide stay-at-home orders, he faced almost immediate pushback from Republicans and then eventually some downstate Democrats who said that his metrics were too broad, his timeline was too long, and that his restrictions were too onerous and too punishing on businesses. And most importantly, that one size doesn't always fit all. So now, for the first time, we're looking back at new data we've obtained from the Illinois Department of Public Health. These are the very metrics the Pritzker administration used to measure each region and its progress. And that data shows just how different the coronavirus looked in each corner of the state.
And the data is giving us more information about what we ought to be doing.
We try to use our data and make the most informed decisions.
For months, the Illinois Department of Public Health has tracked key data points to monitor and measure the state's fight against COVID-19.
We consider our hospitalization data a particularly significant indicator.
Before widespread testing was available, the state watched closely to see how many sick people would show up at the hospital. That gave them a real-time sense of where the virus was spreading. According to data obtained under the Freedom of Information Act, the North Central region peaked at 23 admissions per day on May 1st. Southern Illinois peaked at 17, April 27th. Central Illinois peaked at 17 hospitalizations, April 3rd. The northeast corner, including Chicago and the suburbs, skyrocketed nearly 20 times higher, reaching a peak of 444 hospitalizations, April 27th.
Reality on the ground looks different in different areas of our state. So moving forward with Restore Illinois, we're looking at the state as 4 regions, each of which can move through phases at different times. IDPH will watch the identified health metrics closely to determine when regions have attained them.
That clock began May 1st, but at the time, IDPH would not immediately release the historical data. Looking back, we filed a public records request, and that data now shows every region of the state, except for Chicago, had already met those metrics. When Governor Pritzker said on May 5th downstate would have to wait 56 days to reach Phase 4, all 3 downstate regions had already waited more than 56 days and stayed below those levels the entire time.
A region must be at or under a 20% test positivity rate.
Southern Illinois nearly reached 16% of people testing positive on April 23rd. The North Central region nearly hit 12% April 22nd. Central Illinois never hit double digits, peaking below 8% on April 2nd. Chicago and the surrounding suburbs were above 20%, more than half of that time, peaking at 28% on April 14th and not reaching the 20% rate until May 11th.
A region must maintain the availability of a surge threshold of 14% availability of ICU beds, of medical and surgery beds, and ventilators.
Even counting the surge that hit Chicago, after Governor Pritzker's order to stay home, hospitals there never reached that dangerous point where only 14% of ICU beds or medical and surgery beds were available. In fact, hospitals in all 3 downstate regions haven't come anywhere close to that mark, staying comfortably above 30% availability in bed space and ventilators.
You know, I'm not saying that we couldn't have made other decisions along the way and that everything was perfect.
That data set we obtained ended about 3 weeks ago. In that time, Illinois has registered the fastest decline in hospitalizations and in new infections of the coronavirus. Both good signs, but both signs that also amplified calls around the state for Governor Pritzker to relax his economic restrictions that much faster. Earlier this week, we asked Governor Pritzker about that very call and whether or not he would reevaluate. Here's what he said in Belleville.
We didn't have perfect information along the way. We were still learning from the doctors, the researchers, and so on, and still are, even now. But I will say that I think we've done this well, and you see it in the numbers. You know, there was just an announcement over the last couple of days that Illinois has had the largest decrease in COVID-19 cases, while other states are spiking and actually having the greatest number of cases reported. And then I think you've also seen our hospitalizations are now below 2,000, which hasn't happened since April 2nd, I think somebody said. You know, I do think we're doing this right. We're doing it gradually. We are moving forward. We're in phase 3 now. It's 11 days from now that it looks like all the regions seem to be moving in the right direction. So by June 26th, we'll have restaurants open and physical fitness gyms and so on open, and you know, and other things with restrictions, making sure that we're keeping people safe and healthy along the way here. That's the most important thing. Let's get commerce going. We certainly do not want to move backward. And I think you've seen in the other states, they moved very quickly, and now they see a spike, and now they have to move backward. And you can imagine how damaging that is to small businesses who get ready to open. They put more money into opening. They get open, and then they have to close again. I mean, that really will kill a business. And so, not to mention, you know, the damage that it does to the health of the community. So we are, again, I think the way we're doing it, the gradual opening that we're following is making a difference.
We're back in a moment with a fiscal analyst and conservative commentator, Ted Dabrowski, who runs wirepoints.org. Stick around.
Here at WCIA3, we have launched The Bright Spot, a daily segment shining a light on the good news in our communities. During our newscast, we'll share the positive things you're doing, or maybe something good you've seen. You can email us news@WCIA.com or share on the WCIA3 News Facebook page.
The Bright Spot, sponsored by Dogtown Heating and Air.
For years, iMart Express has provided quality eyewear and same-day service to your community. With sights set on the path forward, we continue to rally together to keep your future in focus. Get 2 pairs of single-vision glasses for under $40 and 2 pairs of progressives for under $80. We've implemented additional measures to ensure the safety of everyone that comes into our stores. We thank our local heroes for your dedication to our community. For more information, visit imartexpress.com.
Here's some great news. One stop for all car and truck repairs, plus a great tire selection. Tires Plus is tires plus routine auto maintenance, plus electrical work, plus brake service, plus air conditioning repairs, plus check engine light diagnosis, plus tire rotation. The Plus is in everything they do, and they'll match any locally advertised prices. There's so much plus, we ran out of time to tell you about the great selection of tires. Tires Plus and all Tires Plus Auto Care. They fix everything.
Hi, my name is Angela Russell. I'm the Marketing Director at Carriage Crossing Senior Living. Our #1 priority is the health and the well-being of our residents. So we're doing virtual tours to let you see what our community has to offer from the comfort of your own home. I'll take you around the community and I will personalize a tour for you on my phone. You can either use Skype, Zoom, or FaceTime, and I'll answer any questions that you might have. Let us show you what Carriage Crossing is all about.
You're watching Capital Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
Welcome back. We turn now to one of our guests who has been on the show some time ago, joins us now via Zoom from his offices in Evanston, Ted Dabrowski. Previously with the Illinois Policy Institute, now with WirePoints. You and your team have been digging through and analyzing in chart and graph form a lot of the data we've seen from the Department of Public Health. And that can help to inform the discussion about what we've seen and how we use it. From your vantage point and where we've seen with this dramatic decline in hospitalizations and new infections in the last 2 weeks, just looking at the data, are we in the clear? Are we off the peak?
Well, I think clearly, no matter what critiques one might have of what's happened in Illinois over the last couple of months, it looks like we're having a great drop off in hospitalizations and cases. And so it looks like we have surpassed the worst by far. And that's really good news, no matter how you look at it. Now, the question is, what do we do with that? As we have positivity rates that are really, really low across the state, as you have the number of deaths dropping dramatically, it's a feel-good thing. The question is now, we think that it's time to open up the economy more, because the longer we succeed in bringing down these COVID numbers, the worse we're making the economy, the worse we're putting people at risk from an economic crisis, from a health crisis from the economy. And so it behooves us now to start opening the economy as soon as faster than we are today.
Have you seen enough yet on the economic data side of this to know just to get a real grasp on how immediate or how long-term the economic damage could be?
Well, I think what's interesting between the health crisis and the economic crisis, right? We don't have these pandemics very often. So, when we see the deaths, they're very visual. We saw what was happening in Italy, when we see what's happening in Chicago or New York, it's very painful. It's very real and very visual. What's hard to see are the economic crises and the economic deaths that occur from despair. But fortunately, we don't know what they look like today. But we've had many economic crises, and we know what happens in economic crises. We know that domestic violence increases. We know that suicides increase. We know that opioid abuse increases. We know that bankruptcies and all that lead to very ugly things. And so we don't have to try to guess at what an economic disaster is going to do. We know it from all the past recessions and depressions we've had. And I think that's what we need to rely on, that math, and be a little bit more scared about what we're doing to the economy and to the average ordinary Illinoisan who maybe is just working, trying to get by with whatever job they had, and they don't have it today.
Yeah, it sounds like you're making the case that the people most impacted by this economically could be the people who are low to middle wage earners, people whose jobs.
Yes, Mark. I mean, that's what's forgotten. I know that there's been, of course, in a right case about how the COVID-19 has impacted minorities and poor people, and that's very true, right? When you look at the data, it's true. Either people living in multi-generational homes, people that don't have access to the same health. But you got to remember that when you have a recession, or maybe we're going to have a depression, right? This is the worst we've seen since the 40s. When we have this kind of crisis, who's going to get crushed. It is the minorities. It is the poor. They're the ones that are going to get crushed economically, and then everything else that goes with that.
Governor Pritzker approaches people like that and says, you will be the first to get a tax cut in this plan, that the income tax rates will go down for or stay the same for 97% of people in Illinois, and the only ones who will see a tax increase are that top 3% of earners. Why is that not a compassionate move at this time?
Mark, it only sounds compassionate, but it's a fool's game any way you look at it, and here's why. Illinois now, if the progressive tax was a bad idea before the COVID-19, it's a horrible idea now, right? So across the world, everybody's trying to figure out how to lower taxes, how to provide relief to everybody. We'd probably be the only place in the country, or in the world maybe, who's trying to do some kind of tax raising. It's ludicrous on the face of it. But more importantly is that the real hole in Illinois is some 10, 12, 14, $15 billion, right? Not the $3.2 billion
per year, or
that's the structural hole, right? Right now we've got a $7 billion budget hole, right? That's not the true budget hole, because we never pay the correct amount for pensions or retiree health insurance.
You're never going to pay all your pension debt in 1 year.
No, but you need to start paying $3 and $4 or $5 billion more to pensions and retiree health insurance each year in the hopes of not going bankrupt in pensions alone.
Aren't you making the case that Illinois needs more revenue to pay those bills?
No, I'm making the case that it needs massive reforms, right? So the reason we have this problem is because we have the most debt, most pension debt, and when you add up the retiree health insurance debt, it's the most debt in the country. And what we do is we keep passing these budgets that are fake budgets, right? They never balance. We keep accruing billions of debt outside of the normal budget. That's why we have this crisis. That's why we're almost junk rated. And so the real thing, Mark, is not to keep taxing more. It's to fix the dadgum problems. It's to fix pensions and retiree health insurance, and to bring down the cost of government to something that the ordinary Illinois and Chicago and ordinary person from Rockford can pay. If not, you see the outmigration numbers. People will keep leaving, and it will just leave a bigger and bigger hole for whoever's left to pay.
If it was true that raising the flat income tax on everyone in Illinois back in 2017 from 3.75% rather to 4.95%, if it was true that that pushed the middle class out faster than anyone else, and that was true, that was the largest percentage of people we saw leave the state was the middle class after that, why would it then not be a more inviting state to live in if that tax bracket was to go down slightly?
Well, okay, so now let me go back to the original question you asked. Is it an empathetic move? Look, if Governor Pritzker really wants to fix Illinois and he wants to do it through progressive tax, then the one he's proposing right now, or the one that's in the legislature now that's been passed, won't do it, right? It'll raise $3.2 billion. That doesn't even plug half the budget hole right now. And so,
but it creates the opportunity to go back and give tax cuts to those people in the middle class or the lower income earning brackets down the line. That could be reduced lower.
No, you can't, right? Because once you raise 3.2, you've raised the high levels and you've raised the 250,000 and above. If you want another 3 billion or 5 billion, well then, how high can you raise those? Are you going to surpass California? Are you going to surpass Hawaii in the high bracket? Or are you going to have to go down to the lower brackets?
Well, there's a third variable here that we're missing, and it's an obvious one. Which is a faster accelerant of outmigration, income taxes or property taxes?
Oh, well, let me say this. We're already the fourth or first, depending on, Kiplinger says we're the highest taxes, state and local taxes in the country.
When you combine everything.
You combine everything. Tax Foundation says we're fifth. So we're somewhere in there between first and fifth.
Income tax, we're nowhere near the top.
Income tax, no, but I'm saying the combined, right? Property tax, income tax, sales taxes.
Right.
We're already the highest, or almost at the highest. We don't have room for more taxes, right? And we're also nearly junk rated. So, I think there's a misconception about who's leaving the state, right? Everybody's leaving the state, Mark. We did an analysis there. You look at all the age ranges, everybody's leaving.
Well, there's no misconception when there's data. I know you're a data guy, right? When you have the hard numbers.
No, that's the data we published. So you look at all income levels are leaving. And of course, what matters most is, not who leaves, but how much leaves. And when you look at how much leaves, it's all coming from the wealthy people by definition, right? So it doesn't take that many people for the wealth to leave. And so the numbers are, again, I'm happy to share those with you again, but the numbers are overwhelmingly proof that everybody's leaving the state. It's not just the poor, it's not just the rich, it's everybody, every age group, college age, everybody. And so this is the risk we have, is that you can't tax your way out of this. When you look at the per capita debt, the per capita pension debt across the country, Illinois has the highest debt. And so the more you raise taxes, the more the Governor Pritzker wants to raise taxes to go get that money, the more he's going to lose people, because nobody has to stick around. There's no wall holding people into Illinois. They can leave to avoid the
right.
debt.
But if you had a teenage son or you're a young child or someone who you're trying to teach economics to, and you're saying, okay, you've got some credit card debt, you got into this early, you're paying a high interest rate, we need to put you on a long path to success. What's the first thing you tell that person to do?
Well, first thing is you reform your spending. First thing is you spend within your means. First thing is you look at things that you can't afford, like pensions.
Won't most financial advisors tell you to pay down that debt as fast as you can, get out from it? The fastest thing you can do before you save up, you got to get rid of that high interest rate. You got to pay that debt down.
Yeah, but if that debt's credit card debt because you're going gambling every weekend, then you got to stop gambling first, right? You can't just keep paying debt down. You got to stop gambling. You got to stop spending. You got to be smart about how you spend your money.
Well, I guess it does come down to how the state legislature decides to spend that revenue. Do they put it back into things that reduce property taxes? Do they put it back into places that help shore up the pension debt? Do they make the sound decisions that put Illinois on better long-term fiscal footing? If you knew all those things could happen, if you knew that would happen, would you?
People would be, I don't say people would be happy. People would pay more taxes if they thought they were going to be spent well. But, we've been paying more taxes all along. Our property taxes are the highest in the country. Our income taxes and those combined, sort of first to fifth. Why would we give more money with no reforms and no changes, right? Our home values, okay, this is something important. Home values are crashing in Illinois relative to what's happening in the rest of the country. We are negative when you adjust for inflation compared to the rest of the country. Other places are growing dynamically. And that's one of the costs of living here. You've got the corruption, right? We've got the most indictments of any state in the country in the last, whatever it is, 10 years or so. Why would we give more money to a government that doesn't reform itself? Most units of government in the nation, highest pensions in the nation. Why should we keep paying for that? And I think smart people either ask themselves mathematically that question, or they just kind of look and say, my opportunities aren't here in Illinois. They're in Indiana, right over the border, or Wisconsin, or Atlanta, right? If you're an African-American, I'm going to Atlanta. There they have entrepreneurship. It's vibrant. There's many choices in this state, Mark, and I think people just...
Would you not invite someone or advocate someone to come here and make a living for themselves in Illinois?
I would. It would be hard right now, because imagine if you come here, well, you know what you get handed the minute you move here? You get handed this huge IOU for all this pension debt. And you don't have that in Indiana. You don't have that in Wisconsin. You don't have that in Texas, right? But in Illinois, if you move here, they might as well just hand you, here's $200,000 you need to repay over the next 30 years. I don't care about your mortgage. I don't care about your other costs. You need to pay taxes worth $200,000 because you moved to Illinois. Welcome. Yeah. It's ugly.
Very interesting. A look at the fight ahead as the public grapples with this idea of whether or not we abolish the flat tax and move to a progressive income tax. I expect we'll hear more from you on that front in the next few months, Ted.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we'll all be talking about it. It's a big deal.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll stay in touch. Take care.
Thank you, Mark.
All right. We're back in just a moment.
It's good to get a little more. And with Xfinity, you get more from your internet, like advanced security for all your devices, plus an Xfinity Flex 4K streaming device, now included. It puts all your favorite streaming apps in one place, and it comes with NBC Universal's Peacock, so you can watch tons of iconic movies, shows, sports, and more at no extra cost. That's internet and then some. Get started with Xfinity Internet and enjoy tons of content at no extra cost with Xfinity Flex plus Peacock Premium. Click or call today.
Tomorrow, millions of Americans will go to work and our children will go to school. Some will travel to visit loved ones and others will simply come home. America will move tomorrow because of the oil and gas we produce today. Dakota Access Pipeline is proud to stand alongside the more than 14,000 oil and gas workers right here in Illinois who work in the oil and gas fields, along the pipelines and in the refineries to provide the energy that makes our economy strong and our communities stronger.
Lately, we've found new ways to support and care for each other. And while every gesture counts, so too does every dollar. That's why American Family Insurance is returning $425 million to our customers. This includes a 10% savings for all current and new auto customers for the rest of the year. We hope this does your world some good and reminds you that supporting your dreams means the world to us. Contact your agent or go to amfam.com to learn about more ways to save.
Now is a perfect moment to embrace what's reliable, unwavering. Through SEFCU, it's a promise that has guided us for generations. People helping people. We've always known that coming together to be a supportive financial partner to every SEFCU member makes us all stronger. People helping people. A promise and an invitation to join our community of members and discover why SEFCU is better than a bank.
watching Capital Connection from the Illinois State Capitol.
In case you missed it, some other big headlines from Illinois this week. Governor Pritzker signed the vote-by-mail expansion. That could drastically reduce wait lines at the ballot box on Election Day this November. That piece of legislation also makes Election Day a holiday. And if you voted any time in Illinois since fall of 2018, you'll get an application in the mail. 5 million people in this state, an application to apply to vote by mail. Also, the governor signing a different piece of legislation that promotes remote learning in state schools and in public schools across Illinois. It allows schools to teach in class and remotely, having flexibility district by district. Also, the launch of mobile sports betting at Rivers Casino in Des Plaines. And in court, federal prosecutors hinted that more corruption charges could be coming in the case of Luis Arroyo. And also, other notable news from the Supreme Court of Illinois this week: the Chicago Police Department cannot destroy records of police misconduct. Those are some of the top headlines that maybe you've missed this week. We want to make sure we're keeping you connected to the Capitol. We're back in a moment.
Do you have a financial game plan? Let the family wealth coaches at Boyer and Sappenfield help you with your wealth strategies. Big city service with a small town touch. Specialists in retirement and long-term growth and preservation. Trust Boyer and Sappenfield with your financial goals.
When you need to know the weather will be in the coming week, tune in to WCIA3's 7-day forecast. You can count on our team of meteorologists, Kevin Lively, Adam Claybon, Jack Gervin, and Amelia Henderson for the most accurate 7-day forecast. Sponsored by Edelman.
Get out of town with a getaway to amazing Arcola. Aikman Wildlife Adventure, an animal sanctuary, drive-through park, and petting zoo with up-close encounters with amazing animals. Must do, must see, amazing Arcola. Make it a weekend getaway. The Best Western Plus Arcola, a hotel and convention center with handcrafted Amish furniture in the rooms, picturesque views of the prairie, free hot breakfast, and indoor pool. The best hotel in Amish country of Illinois, the Best Western Plus in amazing Arcola.
Hi, Brad Fandel, Kramer Siding and Window. Since 1955, we've been serving Central Illinois with quality, worry-free home improvements at a great value. So call us today to take advantage of our huge sale. At Kramer, we don't just do a little bit of everything, we do a lot of everything.
Financial game plan? Let the family wealth coaches at Boyer and Sappenfield help you with your wealth strategies. Big city service with a small town touch. Specialists in retirement and long-term growth and preservation. Trust Boyer and Sappenfield with your financial goals.
That wraps it up for us this week. We hope you'll join us at the same time next Sunday. Of course, our full extended interviews are up online. You can watch them there. For Capital Connection, I'm Mark Maxwell. Stay connected to the Capitol all week. Follow us on Twitter at CapConnectIL or watch reports from our Capitol team on WCIA3. You can also find us on Facebook or